Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On this week's episode, we're covering Killdozer.
Yeah, old Marvin Heemeyer. Was he driven by God or was he driven by greed?
Oh, greed. That's a good one, but I don't think so, because like 42,000 could have been 375,000, and then it just turned into a rampage.
Yeah, this guy just didn't know when to stop. We hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, leave that 5-star rating on Spotify. On Apple, you can leave us a written review. And sit back, relax, and enjoy Killdozer.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor,
History.
And copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
hey, this is Dave,
Matt,
And Zap.
and welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder.
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
Relax.
And comprehend.
Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Old Dirty Basement. I am Matt. With me always is Dave and Zap.
What's
How
going
you
on?
doing, guys?
Hey, how you going? I'm glad you mentioned another exciting episode. I am specifically excited to do this episode.
I mean, the name itself is what? Dave, you found this, right?
Well, actually, listener,
Listener, okay.
Sean Snowman, he
Thank
told me
you,
about
Snowman.
this in a text. We were texting about something, and he mentioned Killdozer, and I forget what we were talking about in the text. And I'm like, "What's Killdozer?" I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like an insane story."
I like that a text. It shows like the Old Dirty Basement is like a family. Like we're that close.
That's
Right.
right.
We're getting texts
We reach out and engage with our
to
fans.
touch someone.
Well,
We do every day. We try.
the funny part about this is like the people that I've approached and asked them about Killdozer, I haven't had one person go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Like,
I've never heard of it
yeah,
until I've heard of it from you.
right. But people that I've went up to and go, "Hey, we're looking to do this one," never heard of it.
How about you, Zipper? Anything on this before the day that you had to research?
Sadly, when this happened, it was overshadowed the next
Yes.
day by the death of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, that was actually I had that down as a fun fact.
Yeah. So
well,
this-
not so fun fact.
This thing for damn sure made national news because I mean this shit doesn't happen ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, old Ronald Reagan died. The Gipper.
Yeah,
God, we could use a man like Ronald Reagan right now.
he was a great guy.
Loved him.
Little hard on the middle class, but a good president.
Please.
There's a movie coming out about him. I saw with Dennis Quaid.
I'm going to pay full price and go every day.
There you go.
Well, Nance.
But yeah, so my buddy Sean, shout out to Sean for this. This is a good one. He was telling me there's another one too that happened out in California with a tank, similar type story.
Oh,
And I don't know if it was before this or after, but and I don't know with that one.
I don't remember the tank. I do remember in California there was a group. I think it was two gentlemen that had on like complete flak outfits. Remember they stopped on the freeway and got out of their cars, and I know like there was thousands of rounds shot at them, but they had on like complete Kevlar.
No, I don't know that.
You guys never heard of that?
Like the Matrix or something.
Yeah, but they were in like complete Kevlar vests, Kevlar helmets, and the cops were just constantly shooting at them and nothing. Like it was like a
Matt,
whole like hour or so.
are you talking about one of the podcasts we did?
Did we do that?
We sure did.
God
did?
damn it, Dan! You just talked about that. Zach.
Yeah, we did that. The guy, the one that was left.
Dave don't even know.
No, I don't. I don't remember
the
this.
the last of the two guys. Yeah, they went on this rampage, and they were using armor-piercing bullets. So they had stronger ammunition than the cops, and they were firing through vehicles and all kinds of shit and literally killing the cops. But the guy, there were two of them. The one guy died. The last one that was left, he knelt down to cock his gun, and when he did that, he didn't cock. His one arm was jacked up, or both of his hands were otherwise occupied. So he tried to do it between his knees. And as he cocked the gun, he didn't cock it back far enough for it to stick in place. But it did cock back far enough that when it recoiled, it activated the bullet, and
In the face?
He shot himself in the face.
In the face.
But what story? I don't recall that at all.
So,
Are you really?
I can promise you we did the story. I can't
Weird Science.
remember the name, but I promise you we did the story.
It's a movie or actual true crime?
No, it's a true crime. It actually happened.
It was a
in
true
LA.
as hell thing. Yeah,
I have no recollection of that.
Well, episode 7,
Yeah, dude.
series 6.
we for
We
sure
did that?
it. Yeah,
Wow.
Oh my God, wow.
Well,
Because I just remembered that when I was reading about this story, I was like, oh, there was that thing in LA.
the reason you remember it is because we did a goddamn podcast on it.
man.
Damn.
Well, we've done a lot, so obviously.
We're so old.
That's fine. It's fine. You got early onset.
Is that, yeah, that's early
I
onset
must, man, I
dementia.
must. It must be, man. But this one here, this was 2004. This went down, correct? So just past the 20-year anniversary. I think it was in June.
Yep.
Yeah, this one's pretty wild. So why don't we get into it? I guess.
Let's get into it. And while we affectionately refer to it as Killdozer, the story is about Mr. Marvin Heemeyer. Not to be confused with Lane Meyer. Marvin Heemeyer was all-American dude. Born in Castlewood, South Dakota in 1951.
Castlewood, up to no good.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up learning the trade of welding, which later became his livelihood.
Actually, I went to school for welding. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I went to it was a hack class. I went there for a year.
Nice.
Actually. So I'm a certified welder. Well, I'm not certified anymore because you have to go back for your certificates.
Yep.
But
You got to keep up with the trade.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. Pretty good welder.
Underwater welding.
No, that's a trade.
Yeah,
you got to
that's a
stand in
trade.
bells and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's some crazy shit.
This cat joined the Air Force right out of high school, moved to Colorado in 1974, just outside of Denver, and then to Grand Lake, Colorado in 1989.
Go Broncos.
Okay. Marvin, in fact, was well known for his sociable nature and skilled craftsmanship. He settled into the community fairly well, frequently lending a hand to neighbors, fostering friendships with several townspeople, involving himself in various local activities, and becoming a prominent figure in the town. So this is just some dude.
He's
Just
a regular guy.
regular dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this Grand Lake, Colorado, kind of reminds me of like South Park. Like
I can dig that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
it looks very rural. I've never been to Colorado.
Was he married?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
he was-
No,
Okay.
he was never married, never had kids.
So is this a little McDomery
Maybe, I don't know. He was
Maybe.
in the service.
service?
Yeah.
Serviceman, just,
Just regular guy. not-
self-made dude. He was good at welding. It's just
He was, yeah,
what
like
he
the
did.
weld.
He actually moved out to Colorado in 74 because he was stationed there as, part of his Air Force duty.
Okay.
I do know a very important thing that'll come on later. His mother was very big on like God kind of directing you in your life as to your purpose and what you're going to do in life. So that was instilled in him from a young age to look for signs of like God's pushing you in this direction to pursue this or that.
Yeah.
So that's very important. That'll come up later.
There's a good buddy of mine that if and when the topic ever comes up, he'll be the first one to tell you, look, it's God first, then family. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just keep it in that order, everything else falls into place.
Right.
All right.
God family.
God family. So
God bless you.
in 1992, Marvin purchased 2 acres of land at auction for $42,000. Land was located on the outskirts of Granby, Colorado, which was a little more than 16 miles away from his home. Now, he purchased this with the intent to lease the property to an auto mechanic. The leasing deal fell through not long after, however, as there was an issue with the existing sewage system on the property, an issue on which Heemeyer just wouldn't budge. The existing sewage system, if you want to call it that, consisted of a buried cement mixer. That is to say, the barrel of the cement mixer.
And that's where the waste would go?
Correct. So
Wow.
think of a truck, a cement mixing truck, Pennsy Supply. You see them driving by all the time. They got those big spinning drums or barrels on the back of them,
Right.
mixing that concrete as they're driving, doing whatever, just prepping it for when they get to the job site. This septic tank, the equivalent of a septic tank, was basically somebody dug a hole, removed one of those big ass drums from those trucks,
And put it in there.
and put it in there.
so it didn't spin or anything.
Yeah, no,
Not
it's
once
just
it's in the
that-
dirt,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
So all American Marvin's like buying this land. He's like, hey, this is my land. And then people are like, well, hey, we got to do something with that.
Well, indeed. So
Yeah.
in order to bring the property up to standards, according to the town, Heemeyer needed to either have a septic system installed or link to the town's existing sewage system, which was, sadly, 400 feet away from his property.
And what would that have cost him, Zab?
Anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000.
That's big money.
Now that was, so he paid 42 large, but he would have to pay 60 to 80 large more just to link to to be clear, the town's sewage system. A septic tank was an option. A septic tank is always an option.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like nobody's forcing you to link to public.
Yeah, the man's forcing you.
Well, in this case, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Heemeyer paid his taxes like every other resident. So he believed that the cost of linking his property to the existing sewage system should be borne by the town.
Now, this stuff still goes on every day. You
100%.
see it in the news. Like there's Walmart's going in, or like a Chick-fil-A or something. And the townspeople are all like, hey, man, like if you do this, this causes like this problem and this problem. And that was our land there. And they're sitting in like those towns meetings. And usually like the money talks. So
Right.
the town usually tells you what you have to do. You usually have to like step in line.
Well, I mean, in this case, the dude just bought some piece of shit dirt in an extremely, extremely industrial section of town. Like prior to him getting there, let's take a step back really quick. Colorado didn't come around until 1876. 1876. That's 100 years after the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially 100 years and change before, like, right now.
It's no Pennsylvania in terms of oldness.
It was some wild, wild west shit out there. And people, over the course of time, would just do whatever they wanted to do. So, again, in a now established state, people were just dumping oil, dumping shit, dumping whatever onto this vast, vast landscape. So there was not only the fact that this guy had this thing in this dirt, this piece of shit, who cares, cement mixing drum from a truck, but there was also environmental remediations that needed to be done on that dirt to bring it up to code. So,
but he was just thinking, yeah, I'm buying this land. It's out in the middle of nothing. I have this land, and then all of a sudden people are telling me what I need to do with it.
Correct.
So that kind of gets on your nerves.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a structure there when he bought it. Actually, there's a gentleman who'll come up later in the story, two gentlemen that were there at auction in Denver. And they were thinking, these two individuals were there thinking, oh, we're going to get this for cheap because it's out in the middle of nowhere and nobody's going to want it.
Right.
Not knowing this guy's there. This Heemeyer moved to town. Well, he bid it up to $42,000. They wanted to get it for $38,000 was their max price.
Yep. Now,
story goes, they approached him after at this auction and gave him hell. Kind of like, what are you doing? That was they owned the property previously and it was foreclosed on.
Indeed.
Yeah. So just to keep that in mind, when this went down, that's kind of what happened. So right off the bat, he moved to this town and he's kind of making enemies.
Yep.
But yeah, there was a property there, but there was an issue with the property. I don't know if it'll come up later.
It will.
Yeah.
In fact, in short order here. Indeed, by now, Heemeyer had opened a muffler repair shop on the 2-acre parcel. And he was still using that buried cement mixer barrel as his sewage solution.
Poopy.
Beginning in 1997, a local prominent family, the Dochefs, began plans to expand their concrete business. Little by little, just like Disney, the family purchased lots that were adjacent to their existing plant. One of the lots on their radar was Heemeyer's lot. Interestingly, in fact, Dave was mentioning this, the Dochefs were a previous owner of Heemeyer's lot. They had sold it years ago. The subsequent owner let it go to auction. Heemeyer purchased it, and now the Dochefs wanted it back. They asked Heemeyer to name his price. Believing this opportunity too good to be true, Heemeyer asked for an enormous sum, $250,000.
He paid 42, correct?
Yes.
Paid 42. They said, name your price. Well, he says 250. The Dochefs accepted. He immediately retracted his offer and then asked for $375,000.
After paying 42.
Again.
Oh my gosh.
Once again, the Dochefs accepted. He balked yet again and now asked for $450,000. This time, the Dochefs declined and, instead, bought an available parcel next to Heemeyer's. Unfortunately for Heemeyer, the parcel next to his, now owned by the Dochefs, included the only access road to his muffler shop.
Back to that initial auction where he got it for 42. Like, he wanted to kind of make it work out with those guys, and he said, look, I can't sell it to you for 38. I think the number was like 66,000. He said, if you give me 66,000, it's yours. And they were like, no, I'm not paying that. So at that point, at that first auction, if the dough chefs, I think his name was Cody, the first guy's
Correct.
first name.
And it's Cody. But I mean, it's a family business, like him and his sons and his.
There's other people involved.
For the dough chefs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cody is the main dude. He's the patriarch of the dough chefs.
Cody D.
Right. So if they would have initially, which would have been almost double what they initially wanted to pay, it could have ended there. But he also could have, Heemeyer could have ended it at the 275 or the 350 and made a hell of
375.
375 and made a hell of a profit.
Heemeyer could have made a hell of a profit.
What I'm saying is,
this is only 5 years later. He bought in 92. He bought it for 42. 5 years later, they're offering him 375. I'm sorry, he's asking for 375, and they said
yes. But I'm saying,
dude,
the guy, you can tell, is a little off right now, because anybody in their right mind,
I'll take that money.
Yes, I will take the 375. I'll move out of town and build my own luxury house and 25 acres.
Or I could take it and I could move to a much more populous area. Yes. I could do all kinds of shit.
So right there, he seems a little off.
And these people in small towns, from what I hear, they don't look too kindly on like outsiders coming in and bidding up properties and buying real estate and vacationing there and kind of driving up values.
Yep.
So they usually have a bad taste in their mouth right off the bat.
Of course.
Right away, he's making enemies.
But yeah, he sure is.
Have either of you been to Colorado?
Yes. I've been to Denver a few times.
No, I've never been. I've been into the tip of Colorado from New Mexico, but I've never been into Denver.
Old Mexico, but New Mexico.
Yes, the newer of the two Mexicos.
The shinier Mexico.
Trouble breathing or anything? No, honestly.
Mile high.
So, they say that.
Yeah. My wife and I at one point went out to Colorado for a work trip of mine. And while out there, we went hiking in the old, Rockies National Park and whatever, all of that shit.
Right.
So the elevation we were up at, I think, was 10,000, if not 12,000 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Like, dude, that is some thin oxygen.
Yeah.
I mean, you can feel that. You can absolutely feel that. I mean, so I'm a smoker. Sure, I felt it. but at the same time, so my wife is not. Even she was,
gasping a little bit.
Yeah, dude, the air is thin.
That's when a lot of people fly out to play Denver at Mile High Stadium. It is a mile high, which is 5,280 feet.
Look at that.
That's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Look at that. Is out of nowhere with the fun fact.
Why they call it Mile High Stadium.
That's mathematics. That's math. That's mathematics.
Mathematics.
Or if we were in England, we would be doing our maths.
Yeah. New Mexico like that too? Is that high?
Yeah.
Elevation?
New Mexico got pretty good elevation. And it isn't the same, like, I was out there with my son a couple years back. We were just there recently, but we went hiking. He was still a little younger, but he's like sweating. We were only like 25 minutes into the hike.
Jeez.
And you could tell from the altitude adjustment. It was the air's like thin, but it's beautiful out there. Southwest is pretty lovely.
In addition to never fixing his sewage issues, Heemeyer also hadn't taken the time to install a proper road to his muffler shop. Now licking his wounds and realizing the consequences of his attempts to gouge the prominent Dochev family, Heemeyer approached the Dochevs and offered a land swap, that is, his lot for the lot they'd purchased next to his. They initially accepted, until Heemeyer insisted they build a brand new muffler shop for him on that parcel. Well, no way was that happening. Furious, Heemeyer employed a different tactic. He began a public campaign to stop the town's zoning and construction approvals needed for the Dochevs to expand their concrete business. Though initially successful at garnering local reinforcement for his cause, support soon waned, and the Dochevs were ultimately granted all of the necessary approvals, as the Dochevs were very well connected within that small town. That harkens back to what you had said, Dave. I mean, dude, this is small town stuff. Look, if you're the guy with the money in the small town, dude, it's like Rad.
Right.
It's like Rad. It was the My Favorite Martian guy from Rad. He was the moneymaker. He brought the BMXers to town. He sponsored all of it. He was the guy.
I think I heard a number that they said if they would have built him a property on the land that they were talking about swapping with, it would have been nearly $1 million they would have had invested in this guy's new muffler shop.
Yeah.
And it was along a busy road that would have been better better for business.
Correct.
This place where he's at now, I mean, I guess it's not like a place where you need a lot of traffic in and out. They're going to find you. It's
True.
not like a restaurant or something where you're trying to.
I was looking at population, and so if this guy came up in 89, he moved to Grand Lake. So the population of Grand Lake at this time was a few hundred people. That's Grand Lake. Now, Granby at this time had less than 2,000 people.
That's not very big.
No, less than 2,000 people. Come on, that's McDevitt.
Yeah.
So that was the population of the town where this muffler shop was. But he was just in the industrial section in a piece of dirt.
But the Dochefs seemed like they were willing to work with him as much as possible.
100%.
He's the one that always would like say something like, "Yeah, that sounds good," and then like renege on the whole deal. Like, no, I want this.
In the beginning, that absolutely happened.
Keeps moving the finish line.
Yeah, he's moving the goalposts.
Like, hey,
Yes,
this sounds great. Let's do this. And no, I want this then.
Well, it's like, but it's equally like Dave had said. So at the day of the auction, when he bought it for 42. He said, "Look, man, I'll walk away from this right now if you give me 66." Well, all right. They said, "Fuck you," then.
Yeah.
But then they came back 5 years later and said, "Okay, we're okay with giving you 375,000."
Yeah, that number really went up
substantially. But again, their hands were not tied. But I mean, the Dochefs really wanted all of that property to truly expand that concrete business into what it needed to be, so they wouldn't have to sub out to this guy or that guy or the other guy.
Yeah, subleasing sucks.
To make, well, no, I'm saying sub to other suppliers or providers to make batches or to make, to quarry the dirt, or I'm sorry, quarry the stone, or to mix or to do whatever. Like they could do it all on site, ultimately saving money.
Easier on everybody. Heemeyer could have done his own thing. With that money, he could have built his own muffler shop anywhere he wanted to.
Or he could have just retired probably.
Anywheres.
Yeah.
Well, in late 2000, Heemeyer filed a lawsuit to block the Dochefs expansion project. By the middle of 2001, now months after all zoning and construction approvals had been granted, the Dochefs offered Heemeyer a free connection to their soon-to-be-built concrete plant if he dropped the lawsuit. Of course, Heemeyer refused. Fun fact, not only did he refuse, they called him and made the offer, and as soon as he heard the offer, he hung the phone up.
Jeez.
Who does that?
He loathed the Dochefs and everything they represented. He resented their wealth and prominence in the community, and he hated the generations-deep relationships they'd built with the town's authorities. But Heemeyer was now stuck between a rock and a hard place. After 9 years of occupancy, the buried cement mixer drum in his shop had since filled up with sewage.
Can't you pump that though, or no?
Yeah, wouldn't you have a company come and...
Frantic, Heemeyer tried everything he could to solve his sewage problem. He attempted to illegally connect to a neighbor's sewer line, but he was caught.
Okay, how does one do that?
Hold on.
Like stealing cable.
Yeah.
He pumped the sewage out of the buried cement mixer and into an irrigation ditch that ran along the property. And again, he was caught.
Because it smelled like shit.
Yeah, right.
Heemeyer's muffler shop, along with his ongoing disputes, had become literally full of shit.
Full of shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can look, people do that with electric or have done that with electric.
Cable.
They've done it with cable. I mean, you can do it with sewage too, especially if you're doing it at night when people are sleeping. Like this guy was a heavy equipment knowing guy. He knows how to do this.
Okay, yeah,
just
I
dig
get
a
it.
ditch.
Or he just like put a hose in and probably fairly sized hose, a pump, motor, started it up, boom, 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 boom,
He's out there
pumping it out. Yeah.
His cousin Eddie hat. Shitter's
Correct.
full, yeah.
That's exactly right.
And some shit stompers.
Yeah, dude, he just dug a trench long enough in the middle of the night or whenever he was doing it, and then you just finally got to the point where he finally gets to the point to connect to their pipe.
And as you said, Zap, this guy has a know-how of equipment. He's like, I got a pump and a big hose in my garage. I'm gonna go hook that up and get rid of this shit.
Yeah, big hose.
Hi-yo.
I only got thin hose in my garage. All right.
Isn't it the way you handle the hose, or what's the saying? It's not the motion of the hose, but I don't know,
It's
something
not
like
the
that.
Size of the boat.
The size of the boat.
Something like that.
Now, 9 years after having purchased the property and being told to either install a septic tank or link to the existing sewage system, Heemeyer was ultimately fined and forced to cease his business on the property. Additionally, enforcement began that now required sewage remediation before he could occupy the property again, along with removing that buried cement mixer barrel within 18 months. Begrudgingly, he paid his fines. Fun fact, within the memo section of the check he cut, he added the phrase "cowards and liars department" as a description.
Another red flag.
Yeah, people don't like that.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Heemeyer felt betrayed. In his opinion, he'd been treated unfairly. The system was rigged against a small businessman just trying to earn his way, and local authorities were in bed with the Dochefs. The lawsuit he'd filed in late 2000 to block the Dochefs expansion project was dismissed in 2002. Construction of the concrete plant commenced.
He just completely forgot about the 375.
Dude,
He didn't even think about that.
this you gotta wonder what's running through this guy's head at this point,
I was
right?
saying, he's off.
He's gotta be looking back and just thinking, God damn, I should have taken that 375.
Well, I wonder if there was a number that he would have settled on. You know how crazy he would have to
Yeah,
get.
I don't think he would. That's the whole point.
He
It's
asked,
like,
he asked 450. They said that's way too much.
Yeah, if they would have did the 450, you think he would have moved it again and just to keep screwing with him?
if they came with a check for 450, it would have been like, I want 500.
He would.
Yeah, he wasn't going to budge.
He would.
Right.
He absolutely would.
You think?
He would. No, he would have kept moving the goalpost.
Okay, yeah,
He
yeah.
absolutely would have kept moving the goalpost.
There's no way after all this guy, you can start seeing the cycle going around on this guy.
So this guy loved it. And what a jerk in the memo section of his check. I'm saying, like, would you write so that he's writing a check to the town. So for the town sewage department or whatever. So in the memo section, instead of writing his account number or his location or whatever, he instead writes, to the cowards and liars department. Dude.
But you can't lie. Like, everybody's been to that point where they're pissed off about paying money for something they feel that they don't have to pay money for.
I get that.
We've all been there where it's
When
like,
you-
shit.
When you start writing shit like that on a check,
Yeah,
that's now
yeah.
a legal conveyance of money. You're looking at essentially, you could be hit with possible threats, like charged with making threats or shit like that.
When you write stuff like that?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, P.S. Just a little PSA out there. If you ever have to cut or when you have to cut a check to the IRS to pay your bill, leave that memo section reserved for your social security number and the year for which your taxes are due. Do not write crazy shit like, the cowards and liars tax
Nah, that'll
collectors.
be coming
Wait,
at you.
you have to pay taxes?
Yeah, right? You'll have those agents like in the Matrix showing
Yeah,
up.
showing them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, this guy's off, though.
He's definitely well, I know a little backstory on like what was going on in his life at this time while he's there. He had a girlfriend
Okay.
that maybe we'll talk about later on.
We can talk about her now.
Well, he had this girlfriend that he was dating, and there's a good documentary called Tread, and I got to watch a little bit. She was being interviewed on there, and she was married previously and had kids. He
That was the
never
one
had
on
kids.
Pluto, right?
Yeah, it was on Pluto, TV, and also like the Roku channel. But he had a group of guys that he hung out with. They would ride snowmobiles.
Yeah.
And
He actually made bumpers.
yeah, he would do like reinforced steel bumpers.
Yeah,
that
he would
weld.
He would outfit the snowmobile with this ring of a bumper that they could run over trees and
So he
shit
could take
with.
down
Yeah, they could
trees and
just
stuff.
barrel through stuff. And, so he was skilled.
So he would hang with guys, but he didn't really have any like really. I don't know that he had really like good friends that he would hang out. He was kind of a loner at this point, I think, where he was kind of like losing touch with some of those people.
He was a loner, Dottie.
I know
a rebel.
the girlfriend ended up splitting up at some point when all this was going down. But yeah, I mean, something obviously changed in him. Like there was many times here where he could have just bailed himself out and been done with it,
As we go through this, there are definitely there are a couple of times, a few that, dude, get out. Okay, you missed that opportunity. Get out.
Get out now while you're ahead.
Oh, you missed that one, dude. Last chance. Get the fuck out.
Cut your losses and move on.
And at this point, it wouldn't even be cutting losses. He would still have. I mean, the last offer was, dude, keep your shop, whatever. We'll let you hook up for free to the to our line after we build our concrete plant. Dude,
It's like parlay betting. You just can't stop. You get ahead.
I guess
Lose
not.
the money.
Did he communicate with was his parents? Did he have brothers or sisters?
Yes, he
was
did.
there?
He did.
He had
Okay.
family and
Family?
a dad. That'll come up a little later. but,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Marvin pressed on. His business had to carry on. In July of 2002, Heemeyer traveled to California and purchased a Komatsu D355A bulldozer for $16,000 at auction. Some say he purchased it with plans to use it to construct a proper road to his shop. Others say he purchased it for what he'd hope would be a quick flip to make some money. With or without a bulldozer or an access road to his own shop, he still had that pesky sewage issue to resolve in order to legally get back to work. And he just couldn't come to grips with conforming to what he felt was government overreach and ongoing harassment. Defeated, Heemeyer announced in October of 2002 that his muffler business would be closing. He liquidated his inventory and equipment and put his shop up for sale. A year later, in October 2003, the 2-acre property sold for $400,000.
Good on you.
Nearly 10 times what Heemeyer had paid for it. The new owners connected the building to the town's sewer and water system the day after the purchase.
Fantastic.
I wonder if that was like written into the contract or something, like you got to get it done.
I think those guys just wanted to get in there and get to work.
And just get moving, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I think, a trash company that had purchased it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a local trash or you or the junk guys or whatever the hell, but a growing and thriving trash business. They loved the building. They loved the location. It's in a shit part of town, a very industrial section of town.
I'm most shocked that you can get a bulldozer for like the price of a Honda Civic, like a used Honda Civic or something.
16 large. I think he just happened to buy. He happened to be the only one in the market for it.
Yeah, you think it'd be a little more expensive.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like much for heavy equipment. Like
No,
that.
that's a ridiculous price. That was a ridiculous price.
That's a good deal.
Hell yeah, it was a good deal. And so now all's well that ends well. This dude, look, instead of getting to $350 from X number of years ago, it's now up to $400,000, 10 times what he paid for that shop.
Not bad.
He's got the money. Take the money and run. This is great.
Again, going back to the internal issues with Marvin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look. You give me $400,000 for something I only paid $42,000.
Yeah, but
my internal issues all go away.
He's feeling that 400 is rotten. Do you know what I mean? The 400 isn't settling with him.
Well, that's true. Now, this is after years of maybe a result of his poor choices, maybe a mix of the town, the wealthier townsfolk, trying to bring down the man.
He just sold his business too, so that money he's getting back. Like he probably enjoyed having his own business. Now you're just getting money for something that you put most of your life into.
Sure.
Yeah.
Although that's the thing. I mean, people do that all the time. People will build businesses with the intent of selling them. In this case, though, Matt, I can pick up what you're putting down to the extent of this was this guy's livelihood. It was his everything. Now he sold it. Now what is he going to do? What's he got left?
He feels he lost something that was part of him.
I think in the next part we'll get into the kind of what they were going to do for him as far as like a payback type thing, or like a leasing option that he doing this, he was actually going to be making more money than he was by working and running the shop, or as much.
Yeah,
almost where it was a wash. Like, well, I'm not working and my income is about the same.
That's right.
And at this point, he's in his early 50s.
Yeah,
I mean, we're almost there. If somebody told me like, "Hey, we'll pay you exactly what you're making right now, you don't got to work," I mean, who wouldn't do that? You know what I mean? Especially at that age. But you got to find something to do. And this guy's mind seems to be.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you said, man. This guy was a loner. He's a rebel dotty.
Yes.
He's just living alone, sitting in his hot tub. Over there
enjoying his Hondo
in Great Lakes or Breakneck or whatever the name of the town is. He lives 16 miles away in Grand Lake.
I wonder if he'll find things to do now that he doesn't have to work.
Well, with all this time on his hands, I wonder if he has a new cause.
He does know how to weld.
Man knows how to weld.
Yeah.
Heemeyer had made an agreement with the new owners to lease a portion of his former building in order to finish some work that had accumulated while his shop had been closed. By now, what?
Sorry, I was in reverse. Yeah, I was thinking the other way, that they were paying him to rent it.
Fuck no.
They had already paid him.
What am I going to do? Pay you to use space?
No, yeah, it's the other way around. They had paid him the money, obviously, for the whole property.
Yeah.
And then he leased back a little portion of
Correct.
it. I got you.
Yep. He had like a little garage area, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
If you've got a 2,000 square foot building, he's renting out 500 square feet.
Give me this little corner here.
Yeah,
him a little corner.
I just want a little piece here. I got some stuff to finish up. They seem cool about it too, though. They were like, yeah, sure, man. Just
Nobody
give me
puts baby in a corner. Nobody puts
Heemeyer.
Nobody puts Marvin in a corner. By now, he'd liquidated his entire muffler business. Everything had sold. Everything except the bulldozer.
Good choice.
Heemeyer took that as a sign. In his mind, God wanted him to keep that bulldozer. God wanted him to put his talents to work. And go to work he did.
Why is it either God or the devil?
Yeah.
Better God than the devil.
But it's either one of the two. It's telling you something to do.
I guess the result's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heemeyer erected a wall between his leased portion of the shop and the remainder of the building. Over the course of several months, Heemeyer worked tirelessly on his bulldozer, going so far as to even sleep at the shop and remain there for days on end in order to devote more time to his project. And his project turned that bulldozer into an indestructible equivalent of a tank. For armor, Heemeyer clad the entire bulldozer in 2 sheets of half-inch thick steel plates, separated with spacers, with concrete and bonded plexiglass sandwiched between the 2 plates. For visibility, Heemeyer installed 5 cameras on the vehicle, each protected by 3-inch thick bulletproof plastic and connected to 3 monitors inside.
Yeah, that bulletproof plastic, that's no joke.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff's for real, man.
Yeah, that'll come into play later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For armament, Heemeyer constructed turrets and gun ports within the vehicle and installed a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle at the front, a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle on the right, and a .50 caliber semi-automatic rifle at the rear.
I'm not going to say real quick. God damn it. I'm trying not to say that. But if anybody would go right now, if they don't know what a 50 cal is, if you look at your pen, that's about the size of a bullet.
Oh, that's those real big ones.
Yeah, that's like a 50 cal.
Jeez.
That will jack your world up.
I think they showed him on the documentary holding up 2 bullets, and I bet you the one was a 50 cal, kind of what you're describing.
Yeah. It's like, look at a pen and think about it like as thick as a...
No, man, it's bigger than that. A 50 cal's like your thumb, bro.
Like thick, though.
As thick as your thumb, but it's
like
about,
lengthwise.
Yeah, lengthwise is about like a
correct.
pen.
Right.
With the right propeller.
Yeah. Like think of your thumb like that length and
that thick.
Kind of reminds me of something, yeah.
All of this occurred in his small little walled-off section of the shop, and no one was the wiser. So that's where that's the part that gets me, but maybe it doesn't.
No,
so this guy said, okay, so this guy says, look, I'm selling you this building, but I'm going to lease back a little corner of it. Cool, man, no problem. Now, the day he starts his lease, he goes in there and he erects a cinder block wall all around his spot, takes it all the way to the ceiling so nobody can see what he's doing. Then the access door to the outside, only to his space, he changes the lock. So the landlord doesn't have the keys to this to his little walled off area. Okay, number 1, red flag. Number 2, this guy is doing all of this shit under the cover of night. So when I say that, like, which is absolutely true, this guy was sleeping there. He slept there during the day, while the trash guys were doing their work in the rest of the shop. And then when they would leave for the day, he'd wake up and do his bulldoze modifications at night.
One other thing that was a sign to him was when he pulled that bulldozer in, it literally cleared it by like an inch.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, like, if God didn't want this to happen, I would have ended up buying the next size up bulldozer or
that
whatever.
Wouldn't have fit through the door.
Thank you,
Yeah.
God.
And also, like Zap was saying, he was living in there basically. He had like a TV, VCR, like mini fridge, like all kinds. He made it like his own little apartment.
Space heater.
But
Did you hear? Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just gonna say like how Zap said he was doing this. Like I disagree with them even know, because people do shit all the time. You know what I mean? And you have no idea. You don't really pay attention to what your neighbors are.
I'm not saying they were responsible. That they should be responsible for having known what's going on, but there would certainly, for goddamn sure, be a red flag to start.
Like, why are you blocked in? And
when the tenant builds this wall with no windows in his own little corner of the building that I, as the landlord, can't see. Number 1. Number 2.
So apparently, then the landlord wasn't really involved in the whole situation. That guy was sitting at home just getting his money.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And number 2, the door to his little walled off area, which included a door and a garage door, he changed the goddamn locks.
There was somebody came in though, and I forget what excuse he gave because he had it covered. The dozer, like covered with like.
God, where did he get this cover from?
I don't know, but he kind of came up with some story. Hey, I'm trying to create this thing. I forget even what he said, but he kind of threw him off. That they didn't even ask to look under it. They were actually in there like looking around. And one other thing that they said on the documentary when he was in there, one of the movies that he watched, which I'd never seen this movie. I don't know if you guys have. Was it
the Japanese one?
It's called A Man Apart with Vin Diesel. I guess the storyline was all about like revenge and redemption, and they were talking about this movie that he would watch it on repeat, and that maybe he was like using it as inspiration for what he was trying to do, get revenge on these people. So
wait, earlier when we started the podcast, Dave was saying about the tank in L.A., right?
Yeah, there was some story.
Yeah, I think it was a National Guardsman or something that stole that tank and drove it down the freeway.
Maybe, yeah. He was telling me about that one as well.
Yeah, so. Okay.
Which is different from two guys walking around town with cop-killing bullets.
And I still don't know what that one is.
Yeah, apparently we did a podcast on it. I have no idea either.
We for damn sure did a podcast on it.
I got to look through. You got to tell me which one it is.
Episode 7.
We for damn sure did. So, Dave, you had especially mentioned, or I should say specifically mentioned at one point, the idea, and maybe Matt had asked about it, about this guy did he have a family? Did he have a wife? Anything like that? So right before he gets into liquidating all of his shit and building this bulldozer, Killdozer, his dad died. And I think for him, once his dad died, that was the final trigger. Now
the straw that broke the camel's back.
That is not to say in the meantime that he had been absolutely working on this Killdozer. I mean, he was definitely doing it, but I think like his dad died, I want to say 3 months or so before he finished his Killdozer. I think that was like the last sign. It was like, okay, I got nobody left to report to. I'm good. He also had 2 brothers, I think.
Around that time, he had made out a will, or he had transferred money.
Correct.
Yeah, to like the father, and then when the father died, the money transferred to the brothers. The brothers. So now this is Heemeyer's money.
He got nothing.
Heemeyer made sure all his finances, the money, that anything that was in his name was gone.
Yeah,
I think it was like $500,000.
Yeah, by the time he finished his Killdozer, by the time he was done with it, he had nothing left to his name. Nothing.
So he knew this was he was all processing this whole
for sure
thing for
much like the FedEx hijacking that guy went and took out. All that before, like he knew what he was going to do.
It's interesting, Dave. We'll get to that. We're going to end up as one of Matt's favorite words as part of the denouement. We're going to talk about the results, the result of one giving their money away like that.
Okay.
Oh, do you get taxed on that, or is that?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
On June 4th.
I was about to give you guys some money.
Oh, nice.
Thanks, man.
Making a crazy motorcycle in my garage.
Yeah.
On June 4th, 2004, after having made a series of audio recordings detailing his grievances over time and leaving notes that hinted at his plans, Heemeyer exacted his revenge. Departing the shop by driving straight through one of its walls, he drove directly to the dough chef's concrete plant and began to systematically destroy the batch plant building. Employees and the owner himself attempted to stop Marvin with no success. Police swiftly arrived, but had no means to stop him.
Really?
Yeah, the guy, Cody, that the next door neighbor, the concrete plant, actually brought out a little earth mover himself and was like ramming him. And this thing was so heavy. I think they said 64 tons. So it's like 120.
Well, yeah, he got it. There was another
ish.
Another dozer-ish that was trying to, remember he got in that like dozer fight.
Trying to pick him up.
Yeah, and he said there's no way. Because you're talking concrete armor.
What Dave's talking about, this earth mover that's trying to stop this thing, came at it from behind. And when he try to
get like under the tracks.
Correct. And as he's trying to lift the bucket up, all of the wheels just start coming off the ground.
Oh, he couldn't even do it.
He couldn't do it.
To put it in like a football analogy, imagine Derrick Henry breaking through to the secondary and a defensive back trying to take him down.
175 versus 250
240,
full speed.
Whatever, full speed. Like it's just weight wise and size wise, you're just going to get bulldozed over.
Yeah.
So.
It's not without its irony that his first target was that neighbor, the Dochefs.
Oh yeah, he's going there
Oh,
right
yeah.
away.
Right across the lot.
Yeah.
This was his. The Dochefs were the bane of his existence. This whole concrete plant, then their desire to buy this dirt, build this plant, build this batch plant, that was the impetus, I think, for everything that ended up happening terrible to this guy.
There was a 911 call the actual 911 call that came in, and the girl was like, there's a dozer taking down this building, and initially they thought it was like a runaway dozer.
Yeah.
Sure.
That wasn't even manned, and they didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. So that's true. They had thought, in fact,
Remote control.
yeah, Cody. I was reading that Cody Dochef had thought that this was a remote control device, because who in their right mind could possibly be in something like that? There's no windshield. How could he possibly see? Like the thought of somebody being in there hadn't even crossed their minds at this point.
That the engineering he put into this also, like you said, with the they don't see anybody driving. It's all covered in like this concrete, like. To mention where he had portals for like the weapons, where he had the cameras set up, like it was his own little like.
It was like a Batmobile.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a very good analogy.
His own little apartment inside this friggin' thing.
It is bananas what he had. He had cooling fans. He had everything.
Yeah, so he didn't get too hot. Air conditioning.
Air condition.
Yeah.
It was pretty decent. So the police show up. This is after the locals, the people that were working there. And again, you're just moving a bulldozer, right? A bulldozer is. It can't get any plainer than that definition. So everyone has seen Tonka trucks and earth movers, and you know what a bucket looks like on the front of a truck. This is essentially a flat, planed bucket, or the flattest most shallow possible bucket you could imagine. That it is just meant to, like the name insists, bulldoze, just push dirt.
You're not scooping.
You're not scooping. This is not meant for scooping.
You're just knocking shit out of the way. That's whatever in the way of you.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely correct. So, I mean, this guy's taking this thing and just ramming it into this brand new building, back and forth, back and forth.
It does sound fun though,
dude. Oh my
the whole
god,
thing
yeah.
sounds amazingly awesome,
dude. Hell yeah! So the police show up, and they're obviously these guys can't stop this. I mean, he's able to run over their vehicles, for Christ's
Oh yeah,
sake.
thousands of rounds.
they're
They're getting out of the way.
They're shooting at it.
It's
Just-
like Godzilla or
Yeah,
something.
ping, ping, ping.
Yeah.
He almost killed some cops. Like these cops were standing behind a bunch of Jersey rails.
Yeah, I saw that.
That were there as some meager means of defense. He just rushed them in this bulldozer, and they just at the last second jump out of the way as he just blasts through these Jersey
But
rails.
you're saying miraculously through this whole thing. I don't know if this comes up or too early to mention now, but nobody was killed.
No.
The whole thing was crazy.
Well, wasn't there?
Well,
we'll get there.
okay.
In fact, let's get there. Marvin then made his way into town, targeting buildings associated with those he believed had wronged him. The first building in town to feel Heemeyer's wrath was Mountain Park Electric, where he repeatedly rammed his Killdozer into the building, destroying the front and nearly collapsing it. Next in line was the town hall, which was evacuated only moments before Heemeyer arrived. He methodically destroyed the building, nearly leveling it. After the town hall was all but destroyed, he made his way to the Liberty Savings Bank, where he took out the corner of the building as he passed.
Just swiped it.
Nothing wrong with that.
He just swiped it. So working backwards, the corner of that bank, he again just swiped it as he turned the corner. In that corner, that was actually the corner office of a woman who also served on the town council. But he just wanted to take her out.
Oh, you think he knew she was in there?
Yeah.
I mean, he for damn sure. It's a town of less than 2,000
Yeah,
people.
I get the town hall. Like that's in like every story.
Everybody
Like, everybody
knew
wants to get the
everybody.
town hall.
That reminds me of
Bastards.
a story at work. This guy, we had radios and driving for a living and stuff.
Next tell.
And he goes, he comes over to the radio and goes, "Hey, I ran into a bank." And the dispatcher's like, "Well, just back out of it." He's like, "No, the kind of has money in it."
Oh, a bank.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because you're driving all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just think you backed into.
A bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like, "No, the kind of has money in it." They're like, "Okay."
So the town hall that he leveled, or all but leveled, was the all of the meeting rooms and the administrative stuff that was on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
The first floor was the public library, and that day happened to be like, I don't know, local kids read to a kid day.
Mm-hmm.
So this library is full of all of the local kids that are there for school doing whatever, call it a field trip. And this just happens to be the day that this dude decides that he wants to knock this building over.
Well, there was an APB put out like right away, wasn't there? Like they were trying to alert the whole town because it wasn't, and there were sirens. Like everybody was like alert, like what the hell? And they're like, get out.
They were doing reverse 911 calls.
Which this was the first time I ever heard of a reverse 911 call.
Yeah, where they call the people.
Where 911 calls you.
Yeah.
Like why is 911 calling me?
Yeah.
Because apparently, from what I hear, 911 is a joke.
Yeah, I heard that. In my town.
I called 911 a long time ago.
Yeah.
Don't you see how late they reacting?
But I would have just dropped like a big sheet over him. He couldn't see.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't think they were thinking that. Because
Yeah.
they're like they can't shoot it. The National Guard also was alerted. They didn't know, but I guess the mayor or whatever was kind of like, nah.
Not sure. It's interesting to say though, to get up there to drop a sheet over top of it. When he was at the first place, at the concrete place, people, some of the workers, in fact, so same with Cody Dochev, they tried to get on top of it.
It was all slippery.
He coated it with axle grease. He coated the whole goddamn thing with axle grease so people couldn't climb on top of it.
Genius.
They were just slipping off.
Slip and slide.
One dude did make it up there, though. One of the cops.
The cops did, yep.
Sure did.
And they were, the beginning, too, they were trying to do stuff to the tracking. Like, I know how to do or break that up.
They tried to put like a pole.
A metal rod that would go in those tracks. They did that they attempted that at the concrete John.
The initial one, yeah.
And it just tore right through it.
Those things are tons.
They just couldn't get in there. All right. Next in his path of destruction was the local news station. In this instance, Heemeyer drove his tank directly through the front wall of the building, just as reporters and administrative personnel were escaping through the rear. He ultimately destroyed the entire building, collapsing it in on itself. He next made his way to the east end of town, to the home of the Thompson family's matriarch, Thelma.
And Louise.
Yeah, Thelma and Louise.
Thelma was the widow of the town's former mayor, Dick Thompson, whom Heemeyer believed had persecuted him. Thelma escaped, and Heemeyer proceeded to destroy the house. Immediately thereafter, he made his way to the adjacent Thompson family construction business and proceeded to destroy everything in his sight. Next in his sights was the local propane supplier, which housed in excess of 30,000 gallons of propane.
That's big ones. Those big propane tanks.
Yeah, bruh.
Yeah.
It looks like little airplane tubes.
Yes.
Some ones would be like weapons when you, like they always say, if you knock the end off, but that doesn't really happen.
No,
that's all.
In this instance,
fake.
He didn't attempt to destroy anything with the bulldozer. Instead, he opened fire on the industrial-sized tanks. Thankfully and fortunately, this failed.
Yeah, they're saying he released a lot of rounds too from there, but they said he missed pretty much everything. I guess it's kind of hard to like steer a bulldozer and
he didn't
shoot.
Go ahead.
He didn't have the little view, the cameras or the little ports, the 2-inch, 3-inch ports that he's looking out weren't aligned with the guns, I guess.
He was trying to fire out of the rear of the vehicle, and when he was doing that, at the rear of the vehicle was, call it like a spare seat, a jump seat, or whatever. But it's these metal plates that are that like it's basically like a sheet goes out from the back of the bulldozer, then this other sheet of metal sticks up. This dumbass had put the way that he had parked his vehicle. He was hitting his own vehicle.
Yeah,
he was
shooting at it.
He was shooting. He was shooting some exterior piece that was attached to it, and he kept hitting it over and over and over again. He was wondering why none of these tanks were exploding. Because the bullets never left the goddamn vehicle.
He never did it before either, so he probably didn't have much practice.
First time.
Yeah, it's his first time doing it.
He was also shooting at that transformer.
Yeah,
trying to blow it up.
Not Bumblebee.
No, not Bumblebee, but trying to make sparks that maybe the propane would go off. Bumblebee, Optimus Prime.
That's my transformer sound.
This dude ran over the dead mayor's wife's house.
Yeah.
The dead mayor's house. Dude, I mean, that's a vendetta.
They showed on that documentary, there was like a lot of police vehicles there, obviously.
Yeah.
One of them was a Ford Expedition, so we all know how big those are.
Sure.
That's like a full, that's bigger than an Explorer and all that. He had it flattened when he was done. It was like 2.5 feet, they said.
Yeah.
That was on that tread.
That was left, yes, on that documentary.
The documentary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that gives you perspective of how heavy and big this thing is, just destroying shit.
Well, like Zap was saying, it just pushes Earth. It's not meant to pick nothing up or
just run over.
Yeah, just pushes it to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Tons.
And there's not tires on this. It's treads. I mean,
like a tank treads.
It is
basically.
absolutely tank treads, and it's redonkulous. The next business to suffer his wrath was Gamble's General Store.
I thought you said gimbals.
Hey, Gimbals.
The owner of which had opposed him during the hearings relating to the construction of the concrete plant. Over and over again, Heemeyer rammed the building and tore away at its walls. Now, we talked about this before, or somebody brought it up, but it should be noted that Marvin's upgrade to his bulldozer added 12 tons to an already 49-ton vehicle.
Damn.
Yeah, so this is now, what was 49 is now 61 tons. He'd been pushing the bulldozer to its limits, and the engine began to give out.
That's a lot of torque on the engine there.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to Marvin, Gamble's General Store had a basement. The right tread of the bulldozer became stuck in the open space. Heemeyer was now immobilized.
So, yeah, he's not going anywhere.
What if it
Just fell right in there.
An old dirty basement, maybe.
It was after he ran it over.
Yeah, anyway. But this guy thought out a lot of stuff, though. Like, he had put in air compressors to blow off debris.
Yeah.
Because as he's taking down these buildings, debris is loading on top. You can see it in the documentary. And he used these air compressors to blow all the debris off.
Well, you think about it.
And to clear the screen so he could see
what is going on.
Yeah,
cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his little garage, all he had was time and money. So he's thinking of these things, and him being, having the knowledge to
and a vendetta.
Yeah, and he's just thinking like, oh, it would be cool if I had this, and he would make it.
Sure.
That's the cool thing about having skills in stuff like that.
Being able to make stuff like that.
When you can make things, he was just like, oh, this would be cool if I had this, or this would be cool if I had that. And he was making them. It's awesome.
That's so fucking funny. That's the cool thing about having skills
like
and
that.
stuff that.
Well, it's funny he said that because I was thinking about, like, if I got irritated like that,
Sure.
not that I would ever do anything.
Why do we say like that? You're right, Zab.
No.
Like that.
It was just funny. It was just funny to hear. It's cool to have skills.
Skills, like the skills to
That
pay
was
the bills.
from that's from
It sounds like Napoleon
Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon
Yeah,
Dynamite.
he got skills.
But like, what could I do to get back to, like, I couldn't build something like that. Like, I could make like a kick-ass car stereo and like annoy people that it's super loud, like rattle their windows, like drive through the you know what I mean? Like, I was just trying to think of what skills I have that I could like get back at people like that.
We talked about the not the Coast Guard, National Guard showing up and helping, lending a hand, because these guys
for this.
for these guys.
Oh yeah,
these guys were throwing everything they could. They were throwing grenades. They were throwing all kinds of bullets. Anything they ever could at this thing. They were ramming it with everything they possibly could. They could not stop this thing. They were bringing in larger vehicles to try to stop it. Would not stop it. It's amazing to me that the National Guard wasn't called in, but the reason for that, the mayor and the town, the council had said that they were worried more about the collateral damage.
Yeah, they didn't want to explode like they needed to launch like some sort of missile.
Well, they were looking at a missile. Yeah,
like a missile to hit this thing.
And that's exactly it. The only thing that could have otherwise destroyed this thing while it's moving would have destroyed the town. And you're talking a big missile, a big bomb.
In defense of the National Guard, they're really not. They don't do that often either. No. So they were kind of like, like, do we really trust guys that go there like once a week, a year, or whatever?
Like those Rambo guys, they'd be shooting backwards out.
That's
there.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, they're like, we need to launch like a tank buster type thing on this, and we don't know exactly how to do it. So I think we're going to hold off.
Yeah.
Damn, this guy was obsessed. SWAT team members had surrounded the bulldozer by now. A single shot was heard from within the vehicle's cab. A cutting torch was brought in to cut through the steel plates after explosive efforts proved useless. Inside, police found Heemeyer dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound through his mouth with a .357 Magnum. All told, the estimated damage Heemeyer inflicted in the short 2-hour period amounted to $7 million.
That was a lot more than the $62,000 he paid for the land.
Yeah.
So we were talking about
or 40,000, whatever it was.
Yeah, dude,
42. Yeah.
42,000.
I'll get you. If you're not paying me, if you're not giving me money or giving me what I want, I'll just make you all pay somebody else.
See, I don't even think he did this right. Like, I wouldn't have. I just would have like bulldozed just kept going through like the small things first and see where I was at.
The guy wanted to make sure that he got everybody that had wronged him.
Yeah, the dough chefs would have been first, but then I would have like went through town, like maybe took out a McDonald's, like Burger King.
King. We were talking about why he had given his money away. So this was when all of this destruction was done. He didn't want the authorities or insurance people coming back to, let's say, his father or whomever to get that money, or let's say his brothers. So instead of giving the money directly to his brothers, he had to create that trail that gets things caught up in like probate court or estate court or anything like that, where it takes so long for that shit to settle and to truly follow the money that by the time it had gotten to that third party, like if party one is the giver, party two is his father, and then party three is the sons.
It's like the left turns when a cop.
By the time,
right?
What?
You never heard that?
No, but by the time it got to the sons, his brothers, it doesn't matter. They couldn't have claimed it because they had gotten it free and clear. Now, what's this cop thing? Left turns?
You never heard? We'll have to ask Officer Vince about this, or one of our police friends. But supposedly, I've heard that if you get, say, like a cop clocks you speeding, or running a stop sign or something like that, and you make like 2 left turns, they say that you're free and clear.
That's
like if you're on like Market Street, let's say.
What the fuck?
I remember back in the day somebody saying that.
What, a cop doesn't want to make a left turn?
No, if they if they clock you speeding and you make a left and then another left before they catch up to you, you're free and clear.
No.
You never heard that?
Oh,
like back
not
in the
that they let you go. Rather that they
don't want to go left
you.
turns.
No, if you can pull off 2 left turns and you're no longer being followed, that means that you've ditched the cops.
Maybe that's what it was. I just remember back in the day somebody said that.
That's a tasing.
This is back before the internet when you could lie, make stuff up.
Oh, at the bar. Yeah.
So I remember somebody, I think we were like high schoolers, when somebody told me that, like, oh yeah, if you ever see like a cop, just make 2 left turns and like you'll be good. You'll be out. Like they're not
going to follow.
Yeah, but obviously that's probably not true.
Or you will have ditched them.
But yes, through all this destruction, ironically, no one was killed or injured except him.
Except
him.
Thank God, but God was the one that told him to do it. So I'm confused.
Maybe God wanted him to kill himself.
Yeah.
But if he just did that at first.
Yeah. We talked about his girlfriend. They had broken up in the midst of all this, but she had told the story on that documentary that 3 weeks before this went down, she was working as a dental assistant, I think, and he stopped in to get his teeth cleaned or some dental work done, and she talked to him, and he was telling her, like, you're the best thing that happened to me in this town. But other than that, she said he seemed to be okay, like nothing. Sure. This is 3 weeks before this went down, that she didn't notice anything. They hugged, and, that was it. She didn't know.
Was he a hugger?
He was a hugger.
Well, I hope he had taken a shower before he went to the dentist's office, just because he would spend the entire week at that, or at least
just constantly
4 and 5 days at his shop where there was no shower.
I think he was kind of a stinky dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
this guy would just sleep and live in his own little pestilence, and then once in a while make his way back to his house just to maybe shower up.
This dude probably shat in a bucket in the little shop there.
We talked about, too, that police officer that made his way on the roof. He couldn't find any place to get into this. And he found like a little vent, and they were throwing flashbangs down in there, and nothing was happening.
Avail. Yeah.
So finally, when they did, when the dozer was immobilized, and they heard the gunshot, it took them till 2 a.m. to get into that thing, and they actually had to like bring in some kind of like laser cutter or something to get in there. So
they brought in an oxyacetylene torch.
Is that what it was? Like a torch?
Cutter, yep.
And they got in, and what he did is he actually had it sealed from the inside and bolted. So they were never getting in from the outside, other than like cutting in and stuff like that. But he had the other thing they said he had in there, I think they were like Slim Fast shakes. He loved those.
Well, yeah, he had enough supplies, they said, to last over a week for this guy.
I think it was Slim Fast, one of those like...
the chocolatey ones?
Yeah, like a shake type. Like that if it wasn't a Slim Fast.
Do they have Slim Fast anymore? Is that even a thing?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay, sure.
I don't know that.
Yeah, but this one was crazy. Like Zap said, $7 million in damage.
$7 million.
And that guy that what was it called? Gambles?
The hardware
general store or whatever it was.
Gambles.
The
Gambles. Like, what, a gambler?
Yeah. Well, actually, harkening back to that earlier in the story, I don't think we talked about it, but there was like an article that was written in another, like, he had riffs with all these people in town over one thing or another. And one of the things was they were trying to bring legal gambling to this area.
Correct.
And he was like, They wrote an article about how it's going to be bad for the area, and he was like, "No, I think it's going to be good." And like he got into a big thing with the local paper, and he was writing up his own pamphlets and handing them out like how this is going to be a good thing. So they had a rift, but
he was very against the grain
for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like he just seemed like he would get into it with people over everything. But that Gamble's General Store, that guy wasn't insured enough, I guess they said.
I read that too. So he was underinsured.
Mm-hmm.
I think the total damage to his building was, I don't know, maybe $700,000, but he was only insured up, or no, it was a couple of million that he was in. No, it was 700. He was in 700 was damage, but he was way underinsured.
Yeah, he didn't have enough. I think they said it took 7 years to get back on.
Correct.
His feet. Yeah.
Correct.
A lot of sevens in it.
7, yeah, that's lucky. 777.
777.
God.
Gambling. Casinos.
God.
7 years. 7 million. Yeah. But
Jeez.
definitely a crazy story.
Yeah, man. Dude, thank you for bringing this one.
Yeah, Sean the Snowman.
Yeah, thanks, Snowman.
This was awesome, Snowman. Thank you. This was
Wait, why do they call Snowman again? Is there a story behind the Snowman?
His job, he works on vehicles. One of the things he does, he works on vehicles. And
does he plow snow in the winter?
No, but he's very good at getting the air conditioning where a lot of compressors go out.
Oh, nice.
And it can get hot in those vehicles. And my man, like he's the man, he'll get it going. You know? That's what we call him. He's making it snow in there, and it gets nice and cold.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I
like that.
He always comes up with some cool ones, man. He's the one who he called in for the DC Sniper as well. But yeah, I appreciate that. And all of you listeners out there, if you got a story you want us to cover, reach out, man. We're always looking for ideas.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with stuff on our own all the time.
Hey guys, can you wrap it up?
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
Man, I'm glad we got that in.
Yeah.
That was thanks again. I like that.
Definitely enjoyable. We hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, don't forget to leave that 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple. Leave us a written review. Find us on our social media at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok, and we're actually on Twitter, X as well, Old Dirty Basement, at Old Dirty Basement. And I guess that's it for now, so we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.